What habits do people who maintain a stable body fat percentage throughout their lives have? Why is it not difficult for them to maintain it? What sets them apart from the rest? Are you about to learn or remember 7 powerful habits that will help you maintain a healthy body composition over the years and decades? Even though everyone is looking for specific foods to lose fat, recipes, or unique solutions to complex problems, developing these habits will help you much more than adding any food or supplement on its own. You have to see these habits as unconscious programs that your body will develop, guiding you toward a healthy body composition. The most interesting thing about habits is that we carry them out without really thinking about them. That's why people who don't have them are surprised that you can stay in shape, apparently without much effort. So let's examine them. Firstly, they observe the final hours of the day. You might think that your willpower and your ability to inhibit impulses are the same at any time of the day. The final hours of the day can be risky for maintaining healthy habits due to physiological and other reasons. We often spend the day running around with high levels of stress, jumping from one thing to another in a state of hyper-alertness. For many, acute stress has an anorexigenic effect, reducing appetite. These people usually don't have breakfast or eat much, prioritizing work. In addition, many people notice their work performance or cognitive activity worsens if they have heavy meals, so they limit them during the day. But of course, then night comes. Your stress levels go down and your appetite increases a lot since your body asks for the calories you haven't eaten during the day. From frantically running around, this combines with behavioral disinhibition during the day's final hours. It's time to relax, be with family, treat yourself, watch your favorite show, or check social media. Essentially, you're free to do as you please after a long day of handling responsibilities and making choices. Although this time to relax is positive, sometimes it turns into excessive calorie intake that ruins any previous dieting efforts. Let's say that in the 3 hours before you go to bed, your guard is down, your appetite is high, and your level of awareness is reduced. Psychologically, you think you deserve everything. And this is the perfect recipe for eating a bag of chips, sunflower seeds, peanuts, and 1 or 2 beers every night. Without batting an eye, realizing why you behave this way is a good starting point to improve it. Increase protein at dinner, add whey protein to yogurt for dessert. And, of course, as I always say, avoid buying those things you know you're going to eat at night. Because no matter how healthy you eat during the day and how much control you have during the day, eating an entire chocolate bar before bed makes it difficult to progress. That's the first point. Those who have a healthy and stable body composition watch their behavior very closely in the last hours of the day. They have very good regulation mechanisms. Hunger and satiety will be discussed again later, but it's important to introduce the concept now. Your body should regulate the balance between energy intake and energy expenditure quite well. 10,000 years ago, there were no scales or apps like MyFitnessPal. Still, we didn't lose weight dangerously, and obesity didn't exist as it does now. In healthy conditions, the calories you put into your body over the course of a year match pretty closely with the ones you used during that same period. If there's a season of scarcity, you can rely on the energy stored in your body fat. The modern problem we face is that we've greatly altered those hunger-satiety mechanisms that tell us when to eat and when to stop eating. The result is that almost invariably we put more energy into our system than we take out, and our poor body composition is the result. Some of the elements that disrupt this ancestral mechanism are the following. First, ultra-processed foods are not very filling and are addictive. Somehow they trick your brain so you don't feel full when you eat these things, or you don't feel the same level of fullness. Think about a bag of potato chips like this one. Sounds familiar, right? When I was a kid, we used to have them in the pantry at home and we would eat them some nights. When I sat on the couch with my family, my brain would automatically think about potato chips. Look, a whole bag of 212 grams contains about 1200 calories. Now let me ask you, can you eat a whole bag of these chips if you set your mind to it? You can, right? Easily, right? Now let's do the conversion. A boiled potato. You would need 1.3 kilograms of boiled potatoes to get the same amount of energy that's in one bag. Of these potato chips, do you think you could eat that much boiled potato in one sitting? You can try, but reaching even half a kilo will be impossible. This is the power of ultra-processed foods. They don't make you feel full and they add ridiculous amounts of energy to your diet. Something that, of course, is not incidental but very intentional. Chronic stress directly impacts reward systems, making you more prone to consuming high-calorie, palatable foods, or to distractions that relax you like television or social media. Losing fat during chronic stress is extremely difficult due to psychological and physiological factors. Low muscle mass, a crucial point we'll cover later in the video, is one of the most important aspects. An alteration of the microbiota and a reduction in its diversity, our lifestyle, what we eat, the antibiotics we use, how little we sleep, and the absence of prebiotics and probiotics in your diet all contribute to an impoverished microbiota. This deregulates the production of satiating gastrointestinal hormones, which are downregulated in our population. Let's move on to the next point. They have a high energy flux. Energy flux refers to how much energy enters and leaves your body at all times. A low energy flux is achieved by spending little and eating little, and a high energy flux by doing the opposite. During weight loss, and especially after weight loss, it's particularly important to have a high energy flux. This is only achieved, of course, by increasing the energy expenditure from physical activity and exercise. A high energy flux will help you preserve lean mass, muscle, and bone. Having less appetite and regulating it better, improving your mental health, and giving you the benefits of physical activity. With this understood, be very clear about the following. Without pharmaceutical or surgical help, it's very difficult to maintain weight loss if you don't become someone active who exercises. Following the cucumber diet for 2 months can lead to significant fat loss, but it may not be feasible for everyone. After raising your energy expenditure and keeping it high, the rebound effect is almost guaranteed. Therefore, those who maintain a healthy body fat percentage don't obsessively measure what they eat, but they do have the habit of being active and training, generating a high energy expenditure. Ask yourself, before you start trying to lose fat, am I going to be able to maintain the exercise habit for the rest of my life? Are you in touch with your emotions? Being disconnected from what we feel is one of the great problems of our time. You'll hear motivational videos out there that encourage you to ignore your feelings and do what you have to do without paying attention to them. While this sounds appealing, it conflicts with a harsh reality in practice. And the truth is that our feelings greatly influence our course of action, whether we like it or not. To overcome an emotional state, let's say, of anxiety and worry, you first need to know that it's there. That inner unease will often lead you to seek emotional painkillers in the form of food or even in the form of drink. Drinking too much? At the same time, your mind will look for some reasonable justification like, you've worked hard today, you deserve it, you'll start on Monday. Enjoy life and don't waste time trying to eat well. It's the justification machine I mentioned in my book, Let Habits Be Your Medicine. No one teaches us how to do this. Some people are naturally in touch with their emotions, while others, like me, struggle with it. In any case, being able to redirect your behavior when necessary requires identifying emotional states that lead you astray, which are usually sadness or anxiety. In the case of fat loss, once you've identified it, a window of opportunity opens up for you to decide. And who makes that decision? Your willpower, your prefrontal cortex, the same one you bypass when you carry out an unconscious behavior motivated by anxiety, like getting up from the couch and grabbing some pudding from the fridge. Emotional eating, which destroys so many goals, would be drastically reduced if we all put this point into practice. They avoid the all-or-nothing mentality. People who maintain a healthy body composition are flexible in their nutritional approach, not rigid. In fact, you'll find them on a Friday night having pizza with their family, and it's no big deal. It's even good for their overall progress. So what's the difference between those who achieve it and those who don't? We go back to the prefrontal cortex. These off-plan meals are perfectly planned. In fact, we could say they are actually on plan. They serve a personal purpose, not influenced by your environment. They're part of the plan, already counted on in advance. You voluntarily decide to go off track, but not because you're trying to cover up an uncomfortable emotion or because you've fallen back into the habit of eating poorly. You stay on your usual path, knowing that the all-or-nothing mentality of doing everything perfectly or wrong doesn't lead to anything good. To use a shopping analogy, would it be like the difference between treating yourself to something special on purpose and occasionally versus compulsively shopping to cover up other areas of your life? In fact, it's like the typical comment, in September I'll start working out or I'll start on Monday. Long-term dieting almost perfectly correlates with people who don't achieve a healthy relationship with food and who fall into the traps of diets. You wouldn't say, in September I'll start brushing my teeth or in September I'll start showering. Shouldn't you avoid postponing the moment to start training or eating healthy, understanding diet as eating well? If you do it, it's because you assume that your usual way of living doesn't include eating well and avoiding a sedentary lifestyle. And that's the main problem. In fact, we've normalized completely unhealthy ways of living, and we think that by giving ourselves ultimatums from time to time, we're suddenly going to change our behavior. We change it briefly, but then revert to the same thing. Because the only thing that needed to change, your mindset, your relationship with exercise and food, hasn't changed. You're back where you started, but now more tired, with lower self-esteem and a diminished sense of control. Avoid the all or nothing mentality. It's better to focus on enjoying doing things right and strongly opposing a society that normalizes having breakfast, sugar, having 4 beers on a Monday, or filling your shopping cart with processed meat as a way of life. If you hate eating well and training every day, think about it. Why do you hate it? And avoid superficial and trivial answers like because it's uncomfortable or because it's a lot of work. Or because unhealthy food tastes really good. We all know that. Do you hate it because you secretly want to sabotage your own progress? Do you hate it because you innocently believe you can go without including these elements in your life and still live healthy and happy for 90 years? Do you hate it because you're addicted to comfort and food? Do you hate it because you hate the type of person who eats well and works out and you don't want to be like them? In this last case, why does that type of person make you feel rejection instead of admiration? Do you hate them? Because changing your behavior would make you different from your immediate environment, and you need to be accepted and validated by it. I'll leave these open questions with you to answer honestly. I won't be the one providing the answers. They'll do more for your health than any fat loss food list. Maintain your muscle mass. When we invite patients to do strength training, we don't do it because strength training burns a lot of calories. In fact, it burns very few. And in fact, many times, strength training, especially at the beginning, actually makes you gain several kilos of weight by gaining glycogen and water. So, why is it almost essential to gain muscle in order to lose fat sustainably in the long term? Here are the key reasons. Your body values muscle mass a lot. Think about it. Muscle is the organ that can most immediately help you survive in the face of a threat, whether by running away or by fighting. When you lose weight, almost a third of that weight is inevitably lean mass, meaning muscle and bone. Up to this point, everything is fine except at your lowest weight. If you've lost a lot of muscle, your body will do everything possible to get it back. No, it won't signal you to do strength training, though I wish it did. Instead, it'll signal you to eat more. In an attempt to, after a significant calorie deficit, create an energy surplus that helps you regain as much muscle as possible. The body says, if this aggressive diet made me lose muscle, now I'm going to do the opposite and eat a lot more to get it back. This leads to the rebound effect known as collateral fattening, discussed with Miguel Ángel Florido in this podcast episode. The second cause is closely tied to the first. Have you ever wondered why obesity is almost always associated with low muscle mass? The simple answer would be that people with obesity are sedentary. While this may be true in many instances, the reality is more nuanced and complex. Look, there's even a diagnosis called sarcopenic obesity, which includes people with a lot of fat mass and little muscle mass. What if the causal relationship was the opposite? What if low muscle mass caused an excess of fat mass? First of all, muscle is an organ that is closely related to your hunger and satiety mechanisms, regulating the hormones that control these processes. If you have less muscle than you should, you'll have more appetite than you should. Burn this phrase into your mind. The concept is the same as explained earlier. Your body wants you to have enough muscle to survive, and if your muscle mass is low, it will make you eat more in an attempt to gain muscle. People who do strength training, aside from that increased calorie expenditure everyone talks about, regulate their calorie balance much better and unconsciously. They feel full sooner and don't need to constantly count calories to avoid increasing their body fat percentage. When athletes stop training, their eating habits become unbalanced, leading to weight gain and increased body fat. They intelligently modify their environment. This is likely the most crucial point, despite being last. I won't lie, it's the toughest one to adhere to. Most people who go on a diet regain some or all of the weight they lost within 36 weeks of starting. This happens because we often try to solve a social and systemic problem with individual actions. We think that our weight depends solely on what we put in our mouths, without realizing that what we put in our mouths is completely tied to our environment. It's difficult to accept, but some families, relationships, environments, and friends can sabotage your efforts to improve your habits. There are jobs that are incompatible with improving your health, and the sooner you get out of there, the better. Your health and your environment are one and the same. And sometimes before we start looking at which diet we're going to begin or how we're going to change our shopping basket, broaden your perspective and be more attentive to your surroundings. Ask yourself, is my current environment going to help or hinder me in maintaining these changes I want to implement? Because if it's going to hinder you, that change you want to make is going to feel like a real hell for you. Sometimes we're not even aware that we're banging our heads against a wall until we change our environment. In many health improvement processes, the most important point is having to say goodbye to an environment that generates illness, or at best, one that hinders health. One you have lived with your whole life and which you believe is a part of you. I hope these habits have made you reflect and that you can apply one or several of them in your daily life from today on. See you soon, a hug, and let's keep empowering.